WUMS, University Oxford.
Hey, I'm George Ruggiero.
And I'm John Finnegan.
And this is the G and Finn Show, giving you up-to-date info on Ole Miss sports and more from around the country.
Catch us Mondays at noon and Fridays at 6 on 92.1 FM, Rebel Radio.
Missing things more, and good grief indeed. Welcome, everybody, to the G and Finn Show here on 92.1 FM Rebel Radio and online. It's just your boy, George Ruggiero, here right now. I am Finless. For the beginning part, he had a class that held him over till just at noon. He's likely on his way into the studio as we speak. And as I am Finless, so is the University of Mississippi. You know, this weekend and through midway through last week has been a tumultuous time, I guess you could say, for the football program here. You know, we went into the Egg Bowl. If you listened to our show the Friday before the Thanksgiving break, also, that's something else. I hope everybody else, you know, out there had a good Thanksgiving, had a great time with their family. We're back in classes here now, winding down the semester. But if you listen to our show Friday before Thanksgiving break, we were very confident going into this matchup with Mississippi State. You know, State's defense really had not been performing, you know, up until this game. Their offense, again, also had been struggling, and we thought it would struggle again against an Ole Miss offense that is very good on the ground, or is usually very good on the ground. We're not so sure about that in this game. I think we just need to start with that, the game itself, the Egg Bowl. Final score, Mississippi State 21, Ole Miss 20. If I'm being completely honest, it was not a good game of football. The game itself was not good. Not many good things can be taken from the game. The game was tied at the half, 14-14. Ole Miss put up 2 touchdowns in that second quarter. And it got down to the wire. It got close at the end. You know, it was just a 1-point game at the end of the day. But it just did not have a good feel to it, did not have a good look to it. Neither team really got things going on either side of the ball. And I think there are a couple major takeaways from it. Ole Miss's offense stalled out in the second half after State took the run away from them. That's got to mean something to you. That's got to show that there's a major flaw to the offense if a team has to just take away one dimension and then you don't do anything. That third quarter for Ole Miss was abysmal. It was just really, really bad football. And there's nothing else to really say about that. And that offense didn't pick up until the fourth quarter when Matt Corral came in and started to actually throw the ball. And he made some good passes. He made some really nice throws. A lot of slant routes over the top and through the middle. And there was, of course, the big 4th and 24 late in the game. He made his plays. He made the plays he needed to make to get Ole Miss's offense going and to really keep them in the game when it mattered. He did throw an interception, of course, and everybody's going to point that out. His pick wasn't that bad, in my opinion. I don't think it was a bad interception to throw. The receiver had some separation. The safety just slid into coverage, and he made a good play on the ball. At the end of it all, Ole Miss's offense outgained State by about 70 yards. So it really is a mystery why we couldn't outscore them, putting up all those extra yards. And just as I was getting through that point, my illustrious co-host John Finnegan has entered the studio. Here he is with you now.
Well, illustrious is a strong word, but so George, tell me, where were you when you were watching this game?
I was there. I was in Starkville.
So you were part of the traveling band for this one?
I sure was. No, it was the whole band. The whole band travels for these games.
Okay, all right, that's good to hear. But for me, I was at home coming off watching Ole Miss come back down 20 against Penn State in Brooklyn.
Great game, by the way, that was.
So it got me in a real mood to be a Rebel, but that game. So what was your reaction? Because I was at home, I was surrounded by family, so I had to maybe contain myself a little bit more. But what was your reaction? I just want to hear at the end of the game.
So for me, what really was interesting about the whole thing is from where we were sitting. We sit in on the away side, and the furthest away from that end of the field where Luke Logan missed the 35-yard extra point to lose the game realistically. So from my angle where I was standing, I genuinely thought it went in. I thought it went in. I was about to start cheering, and then I see Mississippi State's bench go bananas. They, stormed onto the field.
And you could see them erupt on TV, too.
Oh, it was obvious, But from where I was sitting, I legitimately thought he hit that, and I was confused on why they were celebrating, and then I realized, oh, he missed it. He didn't hit the kick.
And while I was watching on TV, we were all waiting. 2-minute drill, it's what we wanted to see out of Matt Corral. And when we scored, I was too busy cheering to see the celebration. So when I heard my dad oh, come on, you got to be kidding me. You can't. I'm like,
I didn't see it either.
What are you talking about?
Yeah, when they threw
why
that
are you upset
penalty,
about this? We just scored.
100% agree. I did not see it either. From where I was standing, I couldn't see that side of the field at all because it was on the far side. I just didn't see it. And whenever they threw that flag and I saw that there was a flag on the play, my heart just dropped because I was like, oh no, what happened?
And that game went quick. It felt like the third quarter passed in an instant without Ole Miss doing all too much and giving up another score to Mississippi State in that quarter. But, it was a running game. 25 completed passes between both teams, including both Ole Miss quarterbacks. Just what was most illuminating to you about this game as far as the future of the program on field?
Here's the thing with it is with some of the other events that have occurred since then, which we'll get into that. We've
got plenty of time.
We've got plenty to talk about that. So, just on the field things, again, it showed a lack of adjustment. You know what? Okay, I have just a phrase that I think can sum up this entire Ole Miss season to a T. Too little, too late. I think that just encompasses everything that happened this year from, say, even the game against Auburn going up until this game. Throughout the entire year, the team adjusted, made adjustments, made changes that worked. However, it was too little, too late. Same like this one. We had the run game wasn't great. It was fine. It worked in the first half. But in that third quarter, Mississippi State started to stack the box more, blitz a little bit more, play man coverage a little bit more, and they took away the run.
They could afford to.
Exactly. They had the lead, so they could.
I think what you said, too little, too late, is I wasn't sure exactly what you were going to say because I think there are a couple different ways you could put how this season went. But looking back to even beginning, middle of the season, you're absolutely spot on because even the Memphis game never got any offense going. Touchdown wins it at any point in the second half. Against Cal, got the ball down to the one. Truthfully, might have got the ball in the end zone, but the way it's ruled is the way it's ruled. Unable to punch it in, lost by one score. Alabama, we can ignore. We at least like the flashes of Plumlee we saw then. Missouri, it felt like we started to get momentum going in the second half. We were getting momentum going in the second half, but still fell by 11 points, 38-27. And then Auburn, 2-minute drill, plenty of time to bring it back, wound up losing by 6 points, weren't able to punch it in. LSU game, pulled it within 2 scores in the middle of the third quarter. That was a game way later than it had any right to be. And then finally, against Mississippi State in the Egg Bowl, down 1 score, completed a 2-minute drill, scored. We all know what happened after that. So I think too little, too late has been the story of the season. And for me, at least, in regards to game planning and coaching, it's been an inability to shut down. We talk about on Fridays before the games, we talk about, hey, what's the main threat? Who's the guy whose name we do not want to hear being called throughout the rest of the game? Basketball teams have it. Football teams have it. And who we talked about? Kylan Hill. Who had 132 yards? Kylan Hill.
He had a great game.
It's been an incapability of Ole Miss to shut down the best dimension of other teams, because good teams do that. If you've got a great quarterback, they're going to make you try and run the ball. They're going to drop too many guys back into coverage for you to handle, or they're going to play man. If you've got exceptional linebackers, they might try and stretch it outside. We failed to contain that, and on the other end, we've had a one-dimensional offense, at least in the second half of the season. It's been run the football, mostly with Plumlee. And when we get that shut down, we're not able to recover in the same way that we'd like to be able to shut other teams down.
Exactly, and the thing is I think they very well could have, and I mean obviously should have, adjusted for things prior to we have to adjust now or we lose. And then there were times where we did adjust and we still lost.
Because it was too little, too late.
Too little, too late. Look at the end of the Auburn game. 2-minute drill there. How much running did we do? Very little. We didn't run the ball that much. We were airing it out, and we were, putting up yards.
And it was
we
working.
were driving. It works.
And that's because Auburn was selling out to stop the run, and it was working all game. They held us to 14 in the first 58 minutes of play.
Exactly. So we just adjusted to that. Too little, too late. Thing is, same thing with this game. They shut us down in the third quarter. We should have adjusted. We should have started throwing the ball more and airing it out before we got to, 3.5 minutes left in the game or however long. It kind of got ridiculous there at the end.
And one thing that was upsetting about that game is, we were in the game the entire time.
Yeah.
We went down. State scored 14 in the first half. So did we. We went in tied. They notched it on in the third quarter. We scored in the fourth. But it was, penalties were fine. I was surprised there weren't more.
Same.
The game didn't get as bad as I thought it might. But
there was of course the one that I think we do need to address when we move on from just the game in general.
Yeah. Otherwise, though, a clean game. I think that kind of exists in a vacuum, at least the way I'm looking at it. I don't
Fair enough.
consider that in the same regards that I do. And offsides.
No.
But 2 lost fumbles, an interception thrown. State lost 1 fumble. That helped the momentum a lot. But we converted on 4th downs. We had 23 first downs. State only had 15. It was relatively efficient football in spite of... Well, I say efficient, not good.
No, it was bad. It was a bad football game. It was not good.
But we were converting.
Yeah.
We were able to put together some drives, but none of them turned into anything, with few exceptions.
No doubt. That's the thing. That's what I started this with, is that as much as I would love to come in here and just say, oh, it was a tight game, yada, 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 it just wasn't good football from kickoff to the end of the game. It was not a good game of football. It was sloppy from both teams. Neither team really seemed to be able to get anything going.
Frankly, only State fans enjoyed watching it.
Yeah.
I can watch a game I'm completely neutral about and enjoy it. Like I watch Thursday night football, even when it's the Buccaneers on the Panthers, and I've got no skin in the game. If it's a good game, I still enjoy it.
Yeah.
This was not enjoyed by anyone except State fans and any other SEC West teams that hate Ole Miss a little more than they hate State.
Oh, so you mean a certain SEC network commentator who happens to be a former SEC quarterback who never seems to take Ole Miss in anything.
To be fair, after seeing us play for the past 4 years, I'm not sure if I'd take us in anything either.
I don't know. Like I said, we were confident with this game, or at least I was certainly confident with this game. It's a shame that it ended in the way that it did, because Ole Miss did they did a good job on that last drive or two with Corral.
No, Corral looked fine.
He looked good. I think he looked
threw
good.
a pick, but I don't think we can blame that on him.
No, that safety made a great play on there.
Yeah,
he slid into that coverage and just made a good catch.
It was a good play, and also when we put him in, we were asking him to force those throws.
True.
If you leave him in for the full game, maybe he doesn't put himself in a position where he has to throw something like that. Where he has to throw something where, all right, maybe this guy makes a good read and comes crashing down. So that I don't think we can put on him too much.
No, I don't think so.
But I think I feel like we've spoken enough about. I didn't see too much any bright spots. At least nothing that stuck out.
No, not as good things.
No new takeaways.
I think we do need to at least address the elephant in the room from Thursday, which is Elijah Moore's antics. I can call them that, right? I think that's probably the best word for it.
Yeah, I think celebration's not the best word. I think antics works.
So, if you didn't see, which I'm sure everybody saw, but just for, posterity, after scoring a late touchdown to get the game within 1 point, not a score, 1 point, Elijah Moore decided it would be the best idea to replicate a certain former Ole Miss wide receiver, DK Metcalf, and pretended to be a dog peeing on the field in the end zone. Obviously, he got an unsportsmanlike conduct penalty for that, the same thing that DK Metcalf got 2 years ago.
And here's what I see as the difference, because when DK did it, it was hysterical. I thought that was funny.
Because we were winning.
Because we were winning 24-6 when that happened. DK Metcalf is a top 25 NFL receiver his first year in the league, in my opinion. Am I biased? Absolutely. Do I think he's a great wide receiver? And is he a starter on the Seahawks, who have Tyler Lockett and Josh Gordon?
Yeah.
You get a little more credit for stuff like that when you're a guy like DK Metcalf, who we knew was going to be an NFL receiver by the time he was a sophomore. But it was 24-6 that game. And honestly, that play is idolized. Was it classy? Absolutely not. But there's a painting of it in Funky's. People think it's hysterical. I thought it was hysterical at the time.
Even at the time. I thought it was hilarious.
Were you at that game as well?
Yeah. I thought it was hilarious when that happened. But whenever I saw the replay of it happening this time, it just has a completely different... The optics of it are completely different. We were losing. We've had a bad year. Nothing was really going Ole Miss's way. And then you decide to go and do that? Come on.
And look, this was when, in 2017, just for reference, unranked Ole Miss at, what were we, 5-6 at the time?
Something like that.
I think we went 6-6 or 5-7 that year. Not doing great, but Mississippi State ranked top 15 at the time, and we're up 24-6 when he did it. We got 15 yards, just like OBJ did when he did it. We knew we were going to get 15 yards the second this happened. And you know what? We only won that game by 3 points. We only won the Egg Bowl by 3 points that year.
Yeah, we didn't blow them out by any means.
We were up by 18 when it happened, and we barely squeaked by him. This time, if you're Elijah Moore, you know what's going to happen. You know you're going to get a 15-yard penalty, and you know Mississippi State has the option to enforce it on the kickoff or on the extra point or 2-point try. Do you think we were going to go for 2 without the penalty? Because in my head, I wanted to.
I wanted them to go for the win, especially with the way that Ole Miss's offense had been rolling up until that point. And there's another thing that I do want to get to in this game where I think Ole Miss did kind of get done a little bit dirty by the officiating crew. But just for this specific play, the thing is they lined up in PAT form even before they knew that they were going to enforce the penalty on the extra point attempt. So I think they were just going to go for the tie and try and bring it into overtime, because I feel as though the way our offense had been playing, the coaching staff was like, okay, cool.
You're rolling. You just scored when you had to score. Could be the last drive of your season, and you did what you had to do, and you put it in the end zone. And good drive.
It was a great drive.
Converted a 4th and 24. That was fantastic. I was really hoping that was 1 yard further just to get rid of the juju from it.
Yeah, but no.
Look, great drive, did what you had to do, but in my head, just the fact that going for 2 is a consideration, I'm sure it went through Matt Luke's head.
It had to have.
It went through everyone's head, like, are they going to go for it? It went through mine. I thought we should, but I'm not a head coach.
Yeah.
But the celebration or the antics, they took away that option.
Yes.
You can't go for 2 from, well, what do you line up from a PAT in college?
I believe it's on the 3.
So that makes it an 18-yard field goal?
Something like that. It makes it's either an 18 or a 23. I think it's 18.
Yeah.
But 15 yards tacked on top of that.
All of a sudden, that's a tough
That's a 35-yarder.
That's not a 100% gimme.
No.
It's not an extra point anymore. And Luke Logan had been struggling all year. He was 10 for 19 at the time. You can't... There's no excuse for that.
No.
What do you think this is a reflection of, either for the program, for Elijah Moore? Because from what I hear, by all accounts, I don't know the guy personally.
Neither do I.
From all accounts, Elijah Moore is a good dude. He's a good kid.
I've heard the same.
I hear a lot of good things. I don't know how much of that is reactionary after, because people were saying a lot about this kid on Twitter. A lot of stuff that can't be repeated on air, and I don't think anybody should have to hear from this fan base. but for me it was reflective of coaching and discipline. I mean, just like with any penalty. But imagine a player on a Saban coach team doing that.
And that's the thing. This shows a bigger issue with the program. I think it's less indicative of the player's character and things like that. And I know we'll get into it. We'll talk about it when we get to the coaching thing. But I do believe this is not indicative of the player's character. But the response of the coaching staff and his personal response after this all happens and the consequences that it incurs, that is what's indicative. That shows the lack of institutional control. The lack.
That's one way to put it.
Hey, yeah. I mean, yeah. That. I think that might be one of the best ways to put it, because it's true. If your coach doesn't have the authority or hasn't held you accountable to the point to where he can't even go into the media and say something negative about that play afterwards, what does that say about the program and the organization as a whole? It doesn't say as much about Elijah. It shows to me that a certain coach has not been empowered by either the people above him or the players below him. He was just there.
And that's kind of what I hear. Or not what I hear, but just sort of how I feel about it. Look, Matt Luke, by all accounts, seems like a great dude. For as much crap as he gets for it, he loves Ole Miss. He's happy to be there, and he wants the best for the school. But for me, one reply I saw on Twitter when players were upset with his firing is kind of indicative, I think, of what his problem was with his tenure, and at least what this play showed, was someone said, like, oh, yeah, the players are upset because now they're going to have discipline. I think the players loved Ole Miss. I don't know how much the players respected,
Matt Luke.
They love Matt Luke. I don't know how much they respected Matt Luke.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. So, you know what? Let's just get into it. Let's just move on. We don't have any commercials or any advertisements for this show for today. We might take a break later on if we decide to change topics. But let's just move into the biggest takeaway from the Egg Bowl. And this all happened, as far as I can tell, within a couple hours last night. It might have been under the radar up until then, but news really broke.
Around 7:30 last night?
Give or take. Matt Luke has been relieved of his duties as the head coach.
That's one way to put it. He's been relieved.
Yeah, he's been fired. They fired Matt Luke. So, for me, this really was just a strange turn of events after a new athletic director, Keith Carter, backed him up last week, before the Egg Bowl, keep in mind, and he said that Matt Luke had the next season, the 2020 season, to prove himself.
And we didn't have a show to really talk about that, but how do you feel about those comments at the time?
So that's the thing. And I still feel this way about him being fired in the first place, is I'm not so certain that we even should have fired him, especially not before the Egg Bowl and after everything with Elijah Moore. Because right now, this program needs stability, especially after the post-NCAA-ing, under Hugh Freeze. What we really need is stability. We need a strong leadership group that really has the university in mind, the program in mind, as well as the players. And I think we did have that in Matt Luke. That's not saying anything about his coaching ability or anything like that. That's just to say, in a time of turmoil or in a time of flux, I think that he was doing a fine job keeping everything in line.
I think he did what we hired him to do. I mean, do you feel like he got hired because of the 2017 Egg Bowl win?
No, I don't. I don't think he did.
I think that's what cemented it and kind of got everybody on board with it, because a lot of people wanted to go. This was when we were just coming off Hugh Freeze. They're like, no, let's get another big-time guy in immediately and keep this program where it should be after one season. But with sanctions coming down, Matt Luke was the guy. I think he was the right guy for the job. He stopped the bleeding. He stopped most players from transferring.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We were in a free fall when he got thrown into it. Bowl bans, all that. He stopped us from singing to where Arkansas has gone.
Oh, man.
I don't think another coach could have done too much more than a few more wins, until this season. I think going 6-6, 5-7, and then 4-8, that's not tolerated by most other programs. There are very few programs that'll tolerate that, and personally, I'm relieved that we're not going to be one of them. I think he had done what we needed him to do. I think it's time to move on from Matt Luke.
I mean, yeah.
Where do we go from here?
I agree with you, and I think that there are a couple things before we start looking at, potential replacements, which I do have a good couple in mind that I would love to see in Oxford. There are a couple other things that stick out. It's that after this Egg Bowl loss and Matt Luke's response to Elijah Moore doing his thing, something had to have changed. Something had to have changed in the mind of Keith Carter and Chancellor Glenn Boyce. Because if he didn't respond the way that he did, keep in mind all Matt Luke pretty much said is that it's not showing of Elijah's character. That's not something like him. Didn't mention anything about any possible discipline or any possible, changes to Elijah's playtime or status or anything like that. It was almost like a slap on the wrist to the media.
It was a real non-response.
Exactly, you're right.
You get those from players all the time. I felt like Elijah Moore's was a non-response.
Elijah Moore's response was a non-response. You're right. And if not for that response from both of them, I would be more disappointed in him getting fired right now. I would be legitimately a little bit more torn up about it, but because of those, that just shows to me that he's not holding his players accountable the way that he should be. And that's what this program needs right now. Now, him getting fired in itself is going to have some short-term consequences, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, players aren't happy.
Players are not happy. Players were seen and were talked to storming out of the meeting last night with Keith Carter. Players were, how do I put it, less than pleased with the decision. I think that's an all right way to put it. And I really wouldn't be surprised if there was just a mass exodus, if a whole bunch of players decided, this isn't for me. This is not a program that I want to be a part of right now.
I only wanted to play for Coach Luke.
Bingo. And it would then be hard-pressed for them to find another coach who would, one, be like that here, or is that same way at another program in the country. But that doesn't matter with the way that the transfer portal works now. The transfer portal now is like free agency.
It absolutely is.
You can just go wherever.
And and that's a win for the players, but it's dangerous when you fire a coach who, for plenty of guys, Coach Luke's the reason they stayed with the program or the reason they came to the program. It's like that with every coach at every school. The way you handle firing a coach that's well-liked, plenty of coaches are well-liked and get fired. Sometimes being well-liked is the reason you were fired. Sometimes love and family isn't the only thing. That's a lot of what happened with Coach Luke. What matters to the school is how do you come back from this? Do you think Ole Miss has candidates in mind?
Oh, definitely. There's a couple that come to mind, especially for me personally. There are a good couple that I like. The main one that I'm seeing a lot is current head coach at Memphis, Mike Norvell, which we played Memphis early this year. We saw them. They're very good. They're a very, very good team right now.
And they overperform their talent.
Oh, that's all of Mike Norvell's teams, though. Do you remember him at Arizona State?
Yeah.
It
didn't play like an Arizona State team.
No. Well, I mean, it doesn't now either, but they have another really good... They've got a great coach now in Herm Edwards, but that's besides the point. Mike Norvell, he's won 2 straight AAC West titles. He's got a great offensive scheme.
And not a pushover AAC the past few years.
No, not with how good Cincinnati is, and especially not with how good UCF has been playing. Up until this year.
So there are candidates, obviously, a lot of people who might be good for the job, but kind of my thinking, what concerned me about being fired, what would it have been 3 days after the Egg Bowl, because I think his job was safe come Thursday afternoon. Matt Luke's job was safe. I think we could lose the Egg Bowl and keep Matt Luke. I think the way it happened was indicative of a lot of the problems people saw with Matt Luke, people who, even if they were fans of him, but the criticisms they did have. But for me, it was, do we know what we're doing? Like, we fired Matt Luke.
That's a great question.
Do we know who we want to hire? Do we have a couple people we're in talks with or targeting that we think we can get? Do we have a backup plan if one of those doesn't work out? Are we just going to do it internally?
I'm scared.
We've got a national search committee, which tells me we're going to hire McIntyre.
Well, that's the thing. That's not the coordinator that I've heard coming out as a, quote, front runner in this race. And that's what scares me, is the idea that Ole Miss won't get this right. Ole Miss will just stick with someone in town. And from what I've heard, the current offensive coordinator, Rich Rodriguez, is the, quote, in-house front runner to take Matt Luke's job. And that scares me. I don't like that.
I've heard that, too. Can you think of any reason why? Because for me,
No.
the only logic I can find is we still believe in Rich Rodriguez's ability to get the most out of Plumlee. I think you got to go with the coach that can do that can do the best with Plumlee. I think you've got to go with whoever that is. I didn't see anything from Rich Rod this season that tells me that he's that guy.
You're right. I've not seen anything out of him that's been particularly impressive or particularly good when it comes to, player development. There have been some players that I genuinely think regressed this year under Rich Rod's offense, specifically Matt Corral. And thing is, I have a list of 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got 5 coaches that I think we need to sift through that I've either heard are looking at getting a job in the SEC either for Ole Miss or another team, or I just think would be a good fit. And I do think we need to start with Norvell, because I genuinely believe that Matt Corral in a Mike Norvell offense would be great. I feel like with the skill position players we have, with the running backs we have, Mike Norvell's offense would be fantastic with this team. I mean, look at what they use now. Those little screen dump-offs, those little 4 or 5 yard, pick routes to, they've got Kenny Gainwell, who is incredible, keep in mind.
And for me, what interests me the most about Mike Norvell's offense is that it relies around getting your playmakers, just giving them opportunities. Like, he's not going to, by the time the scripted part of the play is over, it's not like he's running crazy deep passes and that's where guys are getting a ton of yards. It's going after the catch, making moves, having blocks set up downfield at the second level. It's giving the ball to your playmakers and letting them work. For a team that's got a lot of young talent that we need to build around. We've got the stars on offense in the skill positions that we need. Wide receivers are going to hurt a little bit just based on what we're losing or what we've lost in the last couple of years, but we've got a lot in the backfield going for us.
Oh, yeah.
I think Mike Norvell would be great at taking advantage of that. Also, Memphis guy, for the area, recruiting based on geography has been Ole Miss's strength, if there's been a strength in recruiting the last couple of years.
And that's the thing. Norvell knows the area. Memphis
he recruits against Ole Miss.
Exactly. He's an hour away. He, like you just said, he recruits against Ole Miss. He knows the strategies of how to get players from this area and this region to come and play for his team. I think that's something he would be great at. Now, of course, the question then is, would he leave Memphis, or there are other opportunities for him? Because as far as I know, he's the hot name on the big board for a lot of teams, namely Florida State, which is another program that's in a situation, I don't want to say exactly the same because they didn't have to deal with NCAA problems, but they were great. Now they're working their way back up. Why would he leave Memphis, and why would he choose Ole Miss over some of the other opportunities that he'll get? That is just something we can't answer, really.
And look, you can always say, yeah, look, it's an SEC program. It's an SEC West program. That's an upgrade based on conference and divisional prominence. SEC West is about as good as it gets for college football.
Yeah.
You could say Big Ten.
Big Ten's getting up there.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, playing against like Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. Michigan. I was going to say Michigan State, but I think Michigan's earned a little bit of credit, at least out of playing in basketball. But look, playing in the SEC West, that's about as big time as it gets. So there's always going to be an appeal there. Ole Miss is not the only SEC job available.
No, there are.
They're not the only SEC West job available.
There's 2 other SEC teams, if I'm not mistaken. Arkansas and Mizzou. Mizzou fired Barry Odom.
Mizzou, I'm a little surprised they moved on from Barry Odom so quickly.
Me too. Because how long was he there? Only like three or 4 years?
I think 3.
And they had a level of success with Odom, which is why that was surprising to me. Especially with Kelly Bryant.
They did fall apart a bit this year.
Yeah, well, okay. Part of that, though, is because of the postseason ban. I feel like that has to have something to do with it when the team realized we're not actually playing for anything. So there are other SEC jobs available, but I'm not sure that either are as attractive as Ole Miss.
And I don't think so either, only because of the young talent on offense. Is there something screaming to you about the Ole Miss job that would attract you if you were a neutral coach?
Yeah. Genuinely, the young, like you said, the young players, the city itself, and you would, with a new athletic director, you would be getting the support that you need from someone who is really just trying to revive the program.
And yeah, and that's one thing I like about the one good to come out of the entire look, we're picking our own chancellor, picking our own AD, all internal guys, getting a lot of kind of deserved criticism for it. But the one thing that's good about like Keith Carter, we decided he's our guy at AD. I think he was the best hire out of the recent ones Ole Miss has made. But going with Keith Carter, now if he hires a coach, you're his guy. You've got the institution's support. You've hopefully got the players' support. But having the institution's support and knowing, like, hey, you're not a holdover from the last AD. I showed up at work, and I decided I wanted you to be the head coach of this program. That means a lot. That can mean a lot to the program or to the head coach.
100%. And I think part of that is why some of the other coaches that I have picked out and outlined would also be willing to come to Ole Miss. One other one I want to get through these other four just because I think there are some interesting cases in here. What do you think of Mike Leach?
I think, well, just as a man, I think he's hysterical. Some of the best press conference I've ever seen.
We'll get into that because I think that can also show part of why I think he would be a good fit here. He's a genius, I think. He's a goofball, definitely. But he does keep his team in line.
He does.
He's very disciplined with his team, and he also doesn't take any crap from the media.
And
did you see what he called a reporter this weekend?
Oh, I don't know if I did.
So, I think a reporter, it was after the Apple Cup, keep in mind, which Washington State lost again, which I think is a good couple years in a row now.
Yeah.
A reporter was asking, I guess a reporter who doesn't usually write good things about Washington State, asked Coach Leach a question, and he decided to take out his frustration on this reporter. And at one point called him a sacrimonious troll.
I love Mike Leach.
In a press conference, what other coach will call a reporter a sacrimonious troll?
And, I mean, Jim Harbaugh said, I'll answer your questions, not your insults the other day, but he didn't go as far to call him a troll.
A troll.
And you know what? I love those rare insults where, you know what, they thought about it and they still decided, I don't need to curse at you.
Let's say it.
I don't need to curse at you. I'm just going to call you a troll. I'm just going to call you what you are. I can't think of a great reason for him to leave Pullman other than...
I mean, he's been there for a while.
And he's been doing fine there.
Yeah, that's the
thing. He teaches classes there, even.
True. He does.
But, I think he's fun. He's disciplined. When was the last time you heard of a controversy coming out of Pullman, Washington?
Not since Mike Leach has been there.
Yeah.
Oh, but one reason why I would love for him to come, his offense, the air raid offense in the SEC, yes, please.
We tried it a couple years ago. It was a heck of an offense.
Well, that's the thing. We tried it. That was like a watered-down
That's like the boneless air raid offense.
Imagine actual Mike Leach air raid offense with a quarterback that he recruits.
And Mike Leach, and you know what? And that means you start getting receivers again, too.
True, because what receiver doesn't want to play in a Mike Leach offense?
Yeah, and what receiver would want to play in the Ole Miss offense of 2019?
Come on, hello.
And who else do you have? Because I think those are two of my favorite candidates.
Okay, we're running low on time a little bit, but...
So you want to just run through these quick, take a quick break, do all our scores?
Yeah, I think we can do that, and maybe talk a little bit about college football with the players.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, what do you think of Bill Napier, the current head coach at Louisiana Lafayette? He's a young guy. He's got a great track record. He's won the Sun Belt West the last 2 years with Louisiana Lafayette. What are your thoughts on him?
I don't know too much about the program, but I think we're looking in the right spot if he's one of the guys that's on the list. I think we need to be finding what coaches overperforming their talent, because we might be lacking it for a year or two. We've got some playmakers, but overall we might be lacking some stars compared to our SEC West brethren. But, he's winning his division. That's all you can really ask. That means for the talent you have, it's pretty even to what the rest of your conference has. He's doing some things at Louisiana Lafayette that I think could be appealing here.
Yeah, okay.
So I think that's a fine candidate. I don't know a ton about him, but I wouldn't be too upset.
All right, another really low-key one. Bill Clark. He is the current head coach at UAB at Birmingham.
That one I like.
He's got a great track record. And thing is,
Already.
he's working at UAB, which is not a huge football program by any means.
And, you talk about rebuilding a program. I think
Thank
UAB
you.
rebuilt
Come
a program.
on.
Our freshman year, they didn't have a football team.
No, they didn't.
They won their conference their division the second year
With Bill Clark.
under Bill Clark.
He's such a smart guy. He knows what he's talking about. He's a great coach, in my opinion.
He knows how to build a program at the very least. I like that.
And then last but not least in my little short list, what do you think of Lane Kiffin, the current head coach at Florida Atlantic in Boca.
FAU.
The FAU, the Florida Atlantic University in Boca. What do you think of Lane?
I mean, he's been all over the place. He's worked under Saban. He's got
NFL experience.
He's got NFL experience too. I don't know. Some of the best college coaches do and realize, all right, maybe I should go back to college.
The Raiders.
Yeah, but
Let's not.
you know what? I think at the very least it would make the program entertaining.
That's the thing.
There'd never be a dull moment under a Joey Freshwater team.
No. Come on. With Lane, I think he would bring an energy, like a brazen energy back to the program that we haven't had in a couple of years.
He really does. There's not a lot of G5 coaches that I follow on Twitter.
I follow Lane Kiffin.
I follow Lane Kiffin.
He's incredible.
I like
he's
his
something else.
I like his energy. I think he's the kind of guy that people want to play for. I wouldn't be too upset with that either. I think, I think he put together a good list. It seems like a national search.
Thank you. That does seem like I'm hoping that's actually some of the names on our national search for the university, because I do think any of those guys would come in and immediately have some level of success, especially especially some of the younger guys in this list.
I think it's just critical that we get the ball rolling. I think the faster we can right the ship and get the program back on its new path, I think that's best. And I don't know if we're going to have time to take a break today, but you want to run through some college football? We got rivalry weekend.
Actually, no. You know what? You're right. Let's not. We don't need a break. I'm good. Are you good?
Yeah, I'm good to go.
All right. Yeah, let's roll into it with some college football from the weekend. It is rivalry weekend, like you said. There have been some games in here that really have a lot of implications in either like bowl games and the playoffs. I kind of want to start with Cincinnati and Memphis. This was pretty much to win. Not necessarily. It's not the championship game for the AAC.
But practically.
It's practically. They replay each other in Memphis this coming weekend. Memphis took that game 34-24. Brady White looked really good.
He did.
Thank you, Mike
15
Norvell.
for 26, a couple touchdowns, 230.
Thank you, Mike Norvell.
Yeah, absolutely.
The thing is, I'm not high on Brady White, but Mike Norvell has made him look stellar this year.
Absolutely. I mean, even on a national stage with College Game Day in Memphis.
Oh, yeah, and that game right there pretty much makes it to where if Memphis wins the AAC, they're playing in the Cotton Bowl. When was the last time you heard an AAC team
in the
Cotton Bowl? Right.
That's exceptional. One game that I enjoyed watching just because I've got a good friend there, Virginia over Virginia Tech, 39-30.
Good one. I like
Virginia
that one.
scored 19 points in the fourth quarter.
Yeah. Did
That's
you see
a lot
that
of
last
fun.
play?
That was awesome.
It's so much fun.
That was awesome.
Great game. Let's go on to
As far as playoff contenders,
Ohio State and Michigan.
walloped Michigan, they're going to stay number one.
Walloped them. Thing is, they're going to stay number one, but I mean, I'm still not sure that they should. I still like LSU as the one.
So do I.
Just because why I think that with this game and the last game for Ohio State in particular is Fields got hurt, or Fields got dinged up this game, came back with a knee brace on, and Chase Young was kind of invisible.
He was. I definitely think they game planned for that, but Ohio State had enough talent where it didn't matter too much. You can neutralize one guy, they've got 10 more coming for you. In other playoff contenders, LSU blew out A&M 50-7.
Them. Did you see Burrow's jersey?
Yeah, with the Cajun
loved it.
spelling.
Oh yeah,
That was beautiful.
that was honestly just a work of art right there. Let's see what else we've got.
Clemson bodied South Carolina.
What's new?
Georgia bodied Georgia Tech.
What's new?
And-
Oh, thinking of that game, that actually does have another little wrinkle in it. For the SEC championship game, Georgia will be without one of their starting wide receivers after getting in a scrap with a Georgia Tech defensive back.
Yep.
How do you think that affects that SEC championship game?
I mean, do we expect Fromm to need to air it out?
I expect someone to need to do something to beat that LSU team.
Yeah,
because I don't think Georgia can do it.
They're going to need to try something. They're going to be lacking weapons. If they go down early, I'm real worried. Other ranked games, real quick. Oklahoma took down Okie State. Wisconsin over Minnesota. Minnesota, a little bit of a fall from grace.
That's a tough one there for me to really. I don't want to say to swallow, but I really like this Minnesota team, especially going in there with just one loss. This really does take them out of any type of contention for anything this season.
Yeah, but you know what? Still, heck of a job by PJ Fleck. Absolutely earned his contract. I'm excited to see what the Gophers can do in the next couple seasons. And the game of the week, probably my game of the year, the Iron Bowl.
This year was incredible.
One of the best games I've ever watched.
Like, for me, there are 2 games of the year so far that I've seen. This one, and then the UCLA Wazoo game early on in the season. This game has to take it just because of everything going on behind the scenes with this. Because Alabama's not going to the playoff.
No.
There's no way they can.
They're ranked 5 and they lost. They're not going to the SEC championship game. Their season's over.
I mean, of course they're going to have a good bowl game.
Well, they're going to have a bowl game.
They're going to have a good bowl game.
For all practical purposes, their season's over.
Exactly.
If you're an Alabama fan.
They're not going to a playoff game. They're not going to the SEC championship game. They've got 2 losses on the season. They're going to, of course, they're going to go to a good bowl game. They won a lot of games. They're Alabama, yada, yada, yada. That's fine. Whatever. They lost. And a lot of it's because of Tua Tagovailoa. Not that...
The lack thereof.
Exactly. Nothing against him. It's because he was hurt. Because he didn't play. Actually, thinking about that, did you see I was thinking of Lane Kiffin. Did you see what Lane Kiffin quote tweeted the other day?
I'm not sure I did.
So it was the the cat meme.
Yeah.
The meme of the woman yelling at the little white cat. It was that on one side where it had like an Alabama logo, and it says, "We only lost because we didn't have Tua." The cat says, "No, you did have Tua. Too many players on the field."
Oh my God, that's a college football head coach tweeting that too.
That man makes $950,000 a year to coach football, and he's tweeting that.
What a life! Oh, what a life!
And he lives in Boca.
So I think that's all I've got in college football. I'd love to talk more about the Iron Bowl. We only have a couple minutes left.
Yeah, we can keep on to it. What'd you think of that last play?
Gus outcoached Saban.
Thank you. That's what I've been saying.
He only does it when he's about to get fired.
Oh, did you?
But he's capable of outcoaching Saban.
Oh yeah.
In the NFL, 3 Thursday games on Thanksgiving. Bears took down the Lions. That was hilarious because my roommate's a Lions fan. Bills took down the Cowboys. America wins. Saints clinched their 3rd straight NFC South title on Thanksgiving against the Falcons.
Big game. Big game.
Falcons
big game alert.
Kicked 6 field goals and lost, and that's hilarious.
Baltimore, San Fran. Baltimore, San Fran. We got to.
Oh, we have.
That's the game.
That was a great game.
That was a great game. Bengals won though.
Real quick,
Jets lost because they're bad.
First team in NFL history to give 2 0-7 or worse teams their first win of the season, after giving the 1-31 Browns their first win in about a year and a half last season. Titans took down the Colts. Derrick Henry continues to be Derrick Henry, 150 yards.
No surprise there.
Dolphins won. Bengals won.
Ooh.
Redskins won over the Panthers.
That's the more surprising one. But did you see the with Miami, the
fake field goal?
Yeah, what they call that? Wasn't like the Mountaineer shot or something like that?
I have no idea what they called it, but basically,
it was so much fun.
If you didn't see it, they lined up in about what the Colts' worst play ever looked like when they tried to draw them off sides.
Yeah.
But then snapped it and threw a shovel pass.
From wasn't the punter
the punter
to the
threw
kicker.
a shovel pass to the kicker.
That's
that was
never
beautiful.
happened before.
And then they won the football game. That was the best thing I've seen in my entire life, and the end zones looked awesome.
Yeah, they did. They were
nothing
really
too
nice.
Exciting. Otherwise, Texans took down the Patriots last night. That was a good game.
That was.
Texans looked great. Watson said, "You know what? He's the GOAT. I'm glad I got to beat him once before he hangs it up." But my game of the week was 49ers traveling to Baltimore to take on the Ravens.
Oh yeah.
Ravens now 10-2, the 1 seed in the AFC, holding the tiebreaker over the Patriots. 49ers had a good game. They contained Jackson pretty well.
I mean, he only had 105 yards and a touchdown in the air. Sure, he had 101 and a touchdown on the ground. But thing is, because he was doing
That's
all
all
that,
you can hope to do against Lamar Jackson.
Because he was doing that, Mark Ingram didn't get going. Gus Edwards didn't get going.
My lack of fantasy playoffs can tell you that he did not get going.
How was your fantasy team doing? How was this week for you?
It was a week. We had a week. We'll see how the Monday night game goes.
A good week?
It was a week. Anyway, that was a good game.
It was a great game.
Beyond that, nothing too exciting. Rams beat the Cardinals. Broncos beat the Chargers under Drew Lock. That was exciting.
That is cool.
He connected with Sutton for a couple touchdowns before half. And the Chiefs blew out the Raiders. The Raiders are bad. You should have known that when they lost to the Jets who lost to the Bengals. But I think that's about all I've got for this week.
We do have that Monday night game, and I just got a message from one of my friends. It's a link to. I really want this to load quickly because we need to step aside for
The VK way.
Yeah, the VK way. Ole Miss, as of an hour ago, Carter announces the interim head coach. Let's see. Very nice. Turns out I was wrong. For right now, the interim head coach of the Ole Miss Rebels is former defensive coordinator Mike McIntyre.
All right, you know what?
That's a good sign. I think that's a good sign.
That's a good sign. That's the right call. And I think on that note, I think that's all we've got for today.
That's all I've got.
Until Friday, we'll have a preview for the conference championship game weekend. But until then, I've been John Finnegan.
And I've been George Ruggiero.
And this has been the G and Fin Show on 92.1 Rebel Radio.